There are nights you cried so hard, you thought no one heard you. Moments you were betrayed, misunderstood, abandoned, and you asked, why me? You thought your pain was random, meaningless. But what if I told you it was being recorded? Not by people, not by the world, but by heaven itself. What if every tear, every silent prayer, every time you chose integrity over revenge, was documented? And what if your suffering wasn't punishment, but preparation? Stay with me, because what you're about to understand will change how you see every scar on your life. The hidden record. There's a truth most people never realize. Nothing you endured was invisible. The loneliness, the rejection, the battles you fought in silence. While others dismissed you, heaven was observing you, not to judge you, but to measure your strength. Pain is never wasted when it is attached to purpose. Every trial was shaping you into someone who could carry more light than darkness. The chosen are forged differently. Being chosen does not feel glamorous. It feels isolating. You were never meant to blend in. From a young age, you sensed you were different. You questioned things others accepted blindly. You felt deeper, saw deeper, and that made people uncomfortable. The chosen are not selected for comfort. They are selected for capacity. Capacity to endure, capacity to awaken, capacity to lead without ego. Why your life felt harder. Have you ever wondered why your path seemed more difficult than those around you? Why betrayal followed you? Why misunderstandings surrounded you? Why doors closed right when you thought they would open? It is because resistance only rises against something valuable. The enemy does not fight what poses no threat. Your pressure was proof of your potential. Spiritual awakening through breaking. Awakening rarely begins with peace. It begins with breaking. Something collapses, a relationship, a dream, a version of yourself, and in that collapse your eyes open. You start questioning your environment, your friendships, your habits. You realize you cannot return to who you used to be. That discomfort is not confusion, it is transformation. The signs you were marked. You always felt like an observer in this world. Even in crowded rooms, you felt alone. You sense energies before words are spoken. You feel called to something greater but cannot fully explain it. You have survived things that should have destroyed you. Yet here you are, stronger, more aware, more grounded. Those are not coincidences. Those are indicators. Why society tries to silence you. Society thrives on conformity. It rewards obedience to systems that limit growth. When you start thinking independently, when you refuse to shrink yourself, when you speak truths others avoid, resistance appears. People project their fears onto you. They label you dramatic, arrogant, different. But what they truly fear is your clarity. The loneliness of the called. The chosen path is often walked alone, not because you are unworthy of connection, but because your elevation requires separation. Some people cannot accompany you into the next level of your awareness. Their presence would slow you down, so separation happens. It hurts, but it is protection disguised as loss. Your pain was training. Every betrayal trained your discernment. Every rejection strengthened your self-reliance. Every delay built your patience. You were being equipped, not destroyed. Heaven does not waste suffering. It uses it. Your endurance is evidence that something within you is protected and guided. Heaven was watching your response. The key was never what happened to you. It was how you responded. When you chose forgiveness over bitterness. When you chose silence over retaliation. When you chose growth over victimhood. Those decisions mattered. They shaped your spirit. They elevated your frequency. They proved you were ready for more. You were being positioned. You thought you were being pushed aside. In reality, you were being positioned. Positioned away from distractions. Positioned away from people who would dilute your purpose. Positioned for alignment. The isolation created space for clarity. The delay created space for preparation. The strength you don't see. You underestimate yourself. You survived storms that would have broken others. You rebuilt yourself more times than anyone knows. and you did it quietly. That resilience is not ordinary. It is evidence of something greater operating within you. The awakening is irreversible. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you awaken, you cannot return to sleep. Your standards rise, your tolerance for chaos drops, your desire for truth intensifies. You begin to protect your energy. Guard your time, choose your circle wisely. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. The purpose behind the tears. Those tears purified you. They softened your heart without weakening your strength. They humbled you without humiliating you. They stripped away ego and revealed authenticity. Pain carved depth into your character, and depth is what gives your voice power. You are not crazy. Many called you too sensitive, too intense, too spiritual, but what they labeled as instability was actually awareness. You feel more because you perceive more, and perception is a gift when disciplined. The final realization. Your story is not random, it is intentional. Every chapter led to this awareness. Every wound carried wisdom. Every delay carried direction. Nothing was wasted, not one night, not one prayer, not one tear. Now hear this clearly. Do not shrink back into comfort. Do not apologize for your growth. Do not doubt your calling when challenges arise. Embrace the responsibility of your awakening. Walk boldly. Speak truth with wisdom. Continue refining your character. If this message resonated with your spirit, it is not by accident. Engage with it. Like this video so others who feel unseen can find it. Comment the word "awakened" if you are ready to step fully into your purpose. And subscribe to Return to Awakening so you never miss the next revelation waiting for you. Your pain had a purpose, and your journey is only beginning, the weight you carried in silence. There were burdens you never told anyone about, smiles you forced while your heart was heavy, responsibilities you accepted long before you were ready. You became strong because you had no other option, and that strength became your shield, but it also became your solitude. The chosen often mature early, not because they want to, but because life demands it. The battle within. The hardest fights were never external. They were internal. Doubt whispering that you were not enough. Fear suggesting you should give up. The temptation to numb your calling just to feel normal. You wrestled with yourself more than you ever wrestled with the world. And every time you chose discipline over distraction, you grew. Why you outgrew so many? You noticed it quietly. Conversations started feeling shallow. Environments felt heavy. Old habits felt suffocating. It was not arrogance. It was evolution. Growth changes appetite. You no longer crave noise when you have tasted clarity, and that shift disturbs people who are comfortable where they are. The misunderstood sensitivity. Your sensitivity was never weakness. It was perception. You feel atmospheres shift. You detect insincerity. You recognize patterns before they fully form. That awareness protects you. But it also isolates you, because not everyone sees what you see. And when you speak about it, they call it imagination. The pressure before elevation. Every time you were about to level up, something intensified. Conflicts increased. Doubts grew louder. Unexpected obstacles appeared. Pressure always precedes promotion. The weight you felt was not meant to crush you. It was meant to reveal what you were capable of carrying. Why you could never fully fit in. You tried. You adjusted your tone. You dimmed your light. You laughed at jokes that did not align with your spirit, but deep inside you knew you were acting, because your soul was never designed for small spaces. It was designed for expansion, and expansion makes ordinary rooms feel tight. The discipline of being chosen. Being chosen is not about titles. It is about discipline. Discipline in your speech. Discipline in your reactions. Discipline in your private life. Your character in secret moments matters more than your image in public ones. That is why your trials often happen behind closed doors. They were refining you where applause could not reach. When you felt forgotten. There were seasons when it seemed like nothing was moving. No breakthroughs, No recognition, just silence. But silence does not mean absence. It means incubation. Seeds grow underground before they break through soil, and your growth was happening where no one could see it. The strength of restraint. You had opportunities to retaliate, to expose, to seek revenge, and you chose restraint, not because you were weak, but because you understood consequences. Restraint is power controlled, and controlled power is far more dangerous than uncontrolled emotion. The clarity after chaos. Every storm left you clearer. You lost illusions. You saw people for who they truly were. You saw yourself more honestly. Chaos stripped away fantasy. It forced you into truth. And truth, even when painful, is freeing. The shift in your energy. Recently, something changed. You feel calmer, more centered, less reactive. You no longer chase validation. You no longer argue to prove yourself. That is maturity. That is awakening. When you no longer need the world to confirm what you already know within. The responsibility of awareness. With awareness comes responsibility. You cannot pretend ignorance anymore. You cannot go back to unconscious habits. You see patterns now, in yourself and in others, and seeing creates accountability. You must live differently because you know differently. The light you carry. There is a light in you that darkness has tried to dim repeatedly, through disappointment, through failure, through heartbreak, yet it remains, not loud, not arrogant, but steady. That light is why you survived. That light is why you keep seeking growth instead of settling. The separation was strategic. People you loved drifted away. Some betrayed you. Some misunderstood you. Some simply could not follow your path. It felt personal, but it was strategic. Not everyone assigned to your beginning is assigned to your destiny. Separation cleared space for alignment. The quiet confidence growing inside. You are not as insecure as you once were. You question yourself less. You trust your intuition more. You no longer panic when things fall apart, because you have seen collapse turn into construction before. That calm is earned. It was built through experience. The fire that did not consume you. Some trials were intense, so intense you thought you would not recover, but you did. And instead of destroying you, they refined you. Fire reveals what is real. It burns away what is false. And what remains after fire is stronger than before. The awareness of timing. You are starting to understand that everything has timing. Delays protected you. Closed doors redirected you. Waiting strengthened you. Rushing would have placed you somewhere unprepared. Timing is not denial. It is precision. The internal promotion. Before external elevation comes internal promotion. Your mindset shifted. Your patience increased. Your ego softened. You respond instead of react. You listen more than you speak. These are signs of inner growth that precede visible change. The endurance that surprised even you. There were days you surprised yourself. Days you kept going when you wanted to quit. Days you stood firm when pressure pushed hard. You discovered endurance you did not know you had, and that endurance is a gift few possess. The awakening is deepening. This is not the end of your transformation. It is only deepening. Layers are still being revealed. Old beliefs are still being replaced. Your awareness continues expanding. And with each layer, you become more aligned with who you were always meant to be, the silence that strengthened you. There were seasons when you stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending your intentions. You stopped trying to make everyone understand you. At first, it felt lonely. But in that silence, you discovered stability. You realized you do not need to be understood by everyone to be aligned with your purpose. Silence became your sanctuary. The breaking of old identities. Versions of you had to die, the people pleaser, the over-apologizer, the one who tolerated disrespect just to keep peace. Letting those identities go felt uncomfortable. It felt like losing parts of yourself. But those parts were survival mechanisms, not your true nature. You are stepping into authenticity now. Why you were tested in loyalty. Loyalty was one of your deepest values, and that is why you were tested through betrayal. You had to learn that loyalty does not mean self-sacrifice without boundaries. It means integrity without self-destruction. You learned to honor your heart while protecting your dignity. The shift from reaction to reflection. You used to react quickly, emotionally, instinctively, but pain slowed you down. It forced you to reflect before responding. Now you pause, you observe, you analyze. That pause is growth. That space between trigger and response is where maturity lies. The weight of responsibility. As awareness increases, so does responsibility. You feel accountable for your actions, your words, your influence. You cannot live recklessly anymore because you know the impact energy carries. This weight is not a burden. It is trust. Trust placed upon you because you can handle it. When you felt like giving up, there were nights you considered quitting, not just a goal, but everything. The exhaustion felt unbearable, the confusion overwhelming, yet something inside you refused to let go, a quiet whisper reminding you that this is not the end. That whisper was strength you did not know you possessed. The difference between isolation and alignment. At first you thought you were isolated, that something was wrong with you, but over time you realized you were aligning with higher standards, higher awareness, higher discipline, and alignment often feels like loneliness before it feels like clarity. The energy you no longer entertain. You have become selective. You no longer entertain gossip, drama, chaos disguised as excitement. Your nervous system craves peace now. Your spirit rejects negativity faster. That is not weakness. That is evolution. You are protecting what you worked hard to build internally. The calm after surviving storms. You are not easily shaken anymore. Not because life stopped challenging you, but because you stopped collapsing under pressure. You learned that storms pass, that emotions settle, that clarity follows confusion. Experience has made you steady. The authority in your voice. Something about your presence has changed. You speak less, but when you do, it carries weight. You no longer speak to impress. You speak from experience. And experience creates authority. People sense it even if they cannot explain it. The patience you developed. Impatience once ruled your decisions. You wanted answers immediately, change instantly, but pain stretched your patience. It forced you to endure uncertainty, and in that endurance you built emotional muscle. You no longer panic in the waiting season. The release of validation. You used to seek recognition, appreciation, applause. Now you seek alignment, peace, purpose. External validation fades quickly. Internal conviction lasts longer. You learn that being true to your path matters more than being praised for fitting into someone else. The discernment you earned. Trust does not come easily to you anymore. Not because you are bitter, but because you are wise. You observe patterns. You listen beyond words. You feel intentions. Discernment was born from experience, and it protects your peace. The strength hidden in humility. Despite everything you have endured, you remain humble. You do not parade your scars. You do not boast about your resilience. You simply continue forward. Humility amplifies your strength. It keeps you grounded while you rise. The preparation you didn't notice. Looking back, you can see it now. Each hardship prepared you for something greater. Conversations you once feared now feel manageable. Decisions that once intimidated you now feel clear. You were being trained in environments that felt like battles. The expansion of your vision. Your perspective has widened. You no longer think only about survival. You think about impact, legacy, responsibility. You consider consequences before action. That expansion is proof of growth. You are no longer living moment to moment. You are thinking beyond yourself. The courage to stand alone. Standing alone once terrified you. Now it empowers you. You would rather stand alone in truth than blend into falsehood. That courage separates you. Not everyone is willing to endure temporary loneliness for long-term integrity. The inner peace emerging. Amid everything, there is a peace forming inside you, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. It does not depend on circumstances. It comes from knowing you survived what was meant to break you. It comes from recognizing that your pain refined you instead of ruining you, the awareness of your influence. You are starting to notice something subtle. People watch you. They may not admit it. They may not always support you, but they observe how you handle pressure, how you respond to disrespect, how you maintain composure in chaos. Your life has become a silent example. Influence is not always loud. Sometimes it is lived quietly. The refinement of your intentions. Your motives have shifted. You no longer pursue things just to prove a point. You move with intention now. You ask yourself why before you act. You check your heart before you speak. This refinement is maturity. It is the evidence that your pain taught you awareness instead of resentment. The power of emotional control. There was a time when emotions controlled your direction. Anger dictated decisions. Hurt shaped reactions. Now you feel deeply, but you are not ruled by feelings. You process. You breathe. You choose wisely. Emotional control is not suppression. It is mastery. The courage to face yourself. Perhaps the hardest part of awakening was confronting yourself. Your flaws, your fears, your ego. You stopped blaming everyone else. You looked inward, and that honesty was painful, but it was necessary. Self-awareness is uncomfortable before it becomes empowering. The wisdom gained from loss. Loss changed you, not just the loss of people, but the loss of expectations, the loss of illusions, the loss of timelines you thought were guaranteed. Every loss carried a lesson, and every lesson carried wisdom. You are not the same person who once believed everything would unfold easily. The elevation of your standards. Your standards are higher now, not in arrogance, but in self-respect. You no longer tolerate what once felt normal. Disrespect feels louder. Inconsistency feels heavier. You choose quality over quantity, peace over popularity, growth over comfort. The strength in walking away. Walking away used to feel like failure. Now it feels like protection. You understand that staying in the wrong environment costs more than leaving it. You have learned to release what does not align, even when it hurts. That release is strength. The stability within chaos. Life still brings uncertainty. Challenges still appear, but you no longer collapse internally. There is a stability forming inside you, a foundation built through experience. You trust that even if things shake externally, you will remain steady internally. The discipline of guarding your mind. You are more careful about what you consume. Conversations, media, environments. You understand that your mind is fertile ground, and whatever you allow to enter it will grow. Discipline over your thoughts has become a priority. The depth others struggle to understand. You think deeply, reflect deeply, feel deeply. Not everyone operates at that level, and sometimes that creates distance. But depth is not something to dilute, it is something to protect. Your capacity to go beyond surface-level thinking is part of your calling. The balance between strength and softness. You have learned to be strong without becoming hard, to be soft without becoming weak. Pain tried to make you cold, but you chose growth instead. That balance is rare, and it makes you powerful in ways the world does not always recognize. The rebuilding of self-trust. There were moments you doubted your own judgment. You questioned your instincts. You ignored red flags, but experience rebuilt your self-trust. Now when something feels off, you listen. When something feels aligned, you move confidently. Self-trust is sacred. The patience to let things unfold. You no longer force outcomes. You no longer chase what runs from you. You have learned that what is meant for you will require effort but not desperation. Patience has replaced panic, and that shift has changed everything. The humbling lessons of delay. Delays once felt like rejection. Now you see them as redirection. You realize that certain opportunities would have overwhelmed the version of you that existed before. Delay was development. Waiting was training. The gratitude that grew quietly. Somewhere along the way, gratitude entered your perspective. Not loud gratitude, not forced positivity, but genuine appreciation for survival, for lessons, for growth. You may not have received everything you wanted, but you received transformation. The realization of your assignment. Deep inside, you feel it, a sense that your life carries responsibility, that your journey was not random, that the endurance you built will be used. This realization does not inflate your ego, it humbles you, because purpose is not about superiority, it is about service. The strength to continue forward. You are no longer chasing who you used to be. You are building who you are becoming, step by step, choice by choice. Even when motivation fades, discipline remains. Even when clarity dims, faith in growth continues. The fire that now burns steady. What once felt like chaotic intensity has become controlled passion. Your drive is no longer fueled by proving others wrong. It is fueled by becoming better. The fire still burns, but now it is steady, focused, intentional, the confidence that comes from surviving. There is a different kind of confidence growing in you now. Not loud, not performative. It does not need to announce itself. It is the quiet certainty of someone who has survived their lowest moments. You know what rock bottom feels like, and that knowledge makes you fearless in ways others cannot comprehend. The freedom of letting go. You are no longer holding on to what hurts you just because it is familiar. Familiarity used to feel safe, even when it was toxic. Now you choose freedom over familiarity. You release with understanding instead of resentment, and that release creates space for healthier alignments. The awareness of spiritual responsibility. With greater awareness comes greater accountability. You cannot act carelessly and call it growth. You understand that your choices ripple beyond you. Your discipline is no longer just for personal success. It is for integrity, for alignment, for honoring the journey that shaped you. The separation between ego and purpose. There was a time you confused ambition with purpose. You wanted recognition, status, validation, but now you see the difference. Ego seeks applause, purpose seeks impact. Ego reacts, purpose responds. You are learning to silence the ego so your calling can speak clearly. The healing that happened slowly. Healing did not arrive overnight. It was not dramatic. It was gradual, subtle, layer by layer. You forgave in stages. You accepted in phases. You rebuilt yourself piece by piece. That slow healing made your foundation stronger than a quick fix ever could. The clarity about who you are not. Sometimes awakening is not about discovering who you are. It is about discovering who you are not. You are not your past mistakes. You are not the labels placed on you. You are not the worst moment of your life. Stripping away false identities revealed your true essence. The strength to face future storms. You do not fear challenges the way you once did. You know storms will come, but you also know they will pass. Experience has taught you that nothing is permanent except growth when you choose it. That perspective gives you resilience others are still trying to develop. The deepening of your faith. Your faith is no longer based on emotion alone. It is built on experience. You have seen doors close and better ones open. You have seen confusion turn into clarity. You have witnessed your own survival. That lived evidence strengthens belief in a way words never could. The maturity in your silence. You do not argue with everyone who misunderstands you anymore. You do not chase every opportunity to prove yourself. Silence has become wisdom. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle deserves your attention. Choosing silence is choosing peace. The evolution of your relationships. You crave depth now, honesty, accountability, growth. Surface-level connections drain you. You seek conversations that challenge you, environments that refine you, people who respect your boundaries. This evolution narrows your circle but strengthens your support. The acceptance of imperfection. You have stopped demanding perfection from yourself. You understand growth includes mistakes. You allow yourself to learn instead of condemning yourself for every flaw. That self-compassion is part of your maturity. It keeps you grounded while you elevate. The shift from fear to alignment. Fear once dictated your decisions. What if it fails? What if they reject me? What if I am not enough? Now alignment guides you. Does this reflect my values? Does this honor my growth? Does this protect my peace? Alignment replaces anxiety. The awareness of divine timing. You recognize now that some prayers were answered with delay because you were not ready, and some were answered with redirection because they were not right. Timing is not random. It is intentional, even when it feels uncomfortable. The inner authority you now carry. You no longer wait for permission to grow. You do not seek approval to evolve. There is an inner authority within you now, a grounded assurance that you are responsible for your path, and that responsibility empowers you. The strength of choosing discipline daily. Motivation fades, emotions fluctuate, but discipline remains. You choose growth even on days you feel tired. You choose integrity even when no one is watching. These small daily choices compound into transformation. The recognition of your journey. When you look back, you see it clearly. The person you were would not recognize the person you are becoming. You have endured. You have learned. You have matured. The journey was not easy, but it was necessary. The awareness that nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the betrayal, not the waiting, not the confusion. Every experience shaped your perception, refined your character, strengthened your boundaries. Nothing was random, nothing was meaningless. The realization that you are ready. There is a quiet readiness within you now, not impatience, not desperation, readiness. You feel prepared for responsibility, prepared for elevation, prepared to walk in purpose without shrinking. You are no longer asking why it happened. You are understanding what it built within you.